she just talked about lovely Fenna being a high-octane person. Something that no one really ever needs to hear, because if you've met Fenna, you already know that. How was NAIDOC week?
Yeah, NAIDOC week was good. It was different. Obviously, last year it was different as well. We had 2 NAIDOCs last year, and one was the concert in July, and then we had November with everything online, sort of looking back on all the awards and honouring the march and the history of the march. And yeah, we had lots of interviews with elders. But yeah, this year was like, we can't have large gatherings. I mean, we don't come in small numbers. We come in biggest mobs. So we can't have big gatherings. So the flag raising went ahead on the Monday. So that was great. We got to, I mean, it was even just like, we couldn't even raise the flags because everything's under construction at Fed Square. So we had to raise 2 other flags to symbolically have that event. So it's like, you know, it feels like at times we just keep having these challenges put in front of us, but we keep pushing through and we make things happen and we adapt. So yeah, we adapted on Monday and we raised a couple of flags. Tom Mosby was there, the CEO of the Koori Heritage Trust, who raised the Torres Strait Islander flag. We had Auntie Pam Pedersen and Lydia Thorpe raised the Aboriginal flag. And yeah, we spoke some truths, which was really good because the theme this year, which, you know, we can go into, but it was a little bit challenging, I guess.
Oh, let's go into that. What do you mean? Heal country.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, when you need to talk about it, especially to community and with grassroots community, always, you know, front of mind. It's like, you can't just be fluffy. You can't just talk about, let's heal country and let's pick up rubbish and all. I mean, yes, important messages for the wider community, but when it comes to our mob, they're like, you know, right, what do you got to say about this? And heal country, you know, it's hard to celebrate because, you know, we've got sacred sites being destroyed and fracking and mining. And during NAIDOC week, the government announced, you know, a new big
52 billion or something like this. Scott Morrison, announced that,
during NAIDOC week. Gosh, he's a lovely fella.
Do you think that all these decisions, literally some evil people, Scott Morrison, some evil people just go, hey, do you know what? Let's just release this information when there is. It seems to always happen.
While we're busy.
While we're busy, or there's something going on that way. It's like, cool, we'll blow up the Western Australian sites.
Yeah,
whilst
the gorge.
What was that? There was something on that was it Rec Week or something huge? Or
it was Reconciliation Week, I'm pretty sure.
2 years ago, the year before, and everyone was on about this way. Meanwhile, some of our oldest sites and sacred sites are getting blown up, and it doesn't. It doesn't make the media. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the Djadjawurrung tree was pulled out. That went on obviously for quite some time. Like there were mob down there sitting in on that site, defending it for over 12 months, and then boom, they pulled the directions tree out. On the day, I think we had some massive media.
I remember it was something else.
Yeah.
I just find it hard to believe that it's just a coincidence.
Yeah, same.
Which is sad to think that's what's going on.
It is really sad to think because we put a lot of faith and trust in people, and you know, we do everything with the best of intentions, and a lot of our predecessors, you know, have burnt out in the process because these aren't our full-time roles that we volunteer on the side. So we've got our roles that we do daily to survive, pay the bills, feed the kids. And then we're doing this huge work in our spare time and also trying to keep relationships going with people in community and not push the boundaries, but also being diplomatic with the government departments. And you know, it's not all negative, and I know this is a really good radio show, so you know, we need positive content. There's lots of
truthful. Got to be truthful, like you said. No fluffy. We like no fluffy.
Yeah.
Is that you joined the NAIDOC committee a few years back as chair? Did you what's your role now? What do you understand more about your role now with the NAIDOC committee that you may not have understood or learnt in the first year? What's become, is your role still the same as you understand it, or have you stepped into something new about it? And because I feel like you touched on it then. I think sometimes you spend so much time being diplomatic, trying to recharge the community, and put out spot fires. It's just epic. It's epic.
Yeah.
And make those hard decisions when everyone else is trying to pull in one direction or different directions. It's just epic role. What's your journey been like in the last 3 years?
Yeah, and you would know because obviously I came on board, it was 4 years ago now, actually. And I just joined the committee because I wanted to contribute.
Yeah.
And then
that old chestnut.
It's like, we need a new chairperson. And I was just like, are you kidding? Like, I don't even know why you're looking at me for. Because, I didn't see myself as that person. But yeah, so I sort of eased into it and had great support. Obviously, you, Troy, you were on the committee and you supported me like 150%. And Auntie Pam and Lydia Thorpe, who was the previous chair, she was mentoring me into the space. And there are a couple of other committee members. Gosh, there's so much.
There has been a few changes, but yeah.
There's been lots of changes. So, we had a good first year and it was because of Her We Can. So we were honouring the women. And then the following year was Treaty, Truth, Voice. And that's when, it started to become, for me, really political. So all of a sudden we're having to talk about treaty. And and the thing is, it's a national theme that is set by the National NAIODC Committee. And there's a lot of mobs from around the country who are calling for treaty, but we're the first cab off the rank in Victoria.
Yeah.
So that was a huge responsibility for us to really start talking about that because we are essentially the pilot program for treaty. Some of the other states might not see it for, quite some years. But that was really challenging. It became really political and I found myself being in spaces where I'm talking to government departments and having to, find the balance between community events and political agendas. Yeah, it was really bizarre. So that's probably to answer your question, what I found to become more of my role. You're definitely managing expectations. You're putting out spot fires. You've got community who have needs and expectations. You've got a committee that have have needs and expectations, and then you have government departments, whether there's non-Aboriginal staff or Aboriginal staff, and wider community who just need answers.
Have you ever thought, I don't want to do this year? I don't want to do this year. I don't want to do this year. It's too, because it's you talk of things that probably most people wouldn't step into if they knew that was the job, but you kind of found yourself in it.
I found myself in it as a
tough.
Volunteer, people.
A volunteer.
This is above my pay grade.
It's
but
so epic.
It's actually a responsibility. That's where I step into it. I always keep the responsibility of honouring my old people, honouring the communities that are part of Victoria, because it's Victorian NAIODC, so we have 38 plus nations, so we don't just think about certain families, we think about everybody. And also elders and what they need, and just, try not to let the politics take over with, our law, our protocols. So we just try and keep that the forefront of NAIODC and keep it really community focused. And so that was a challenge for me with the whole treaty year, because that didn't I don't think it really went down well with the treaty mob, because they needed NAIODC, I think, as a platform to get people learning about it, to get people voting for the assembly. And we were just like, look, you can't essentially use NAIODC week to promote your agenda. It didn't make sense. So we didn't allow that, but treaty then followed. I think they had all their elections to follow, but that was all racing toward an election as well, a political election between the Labor and Liberals. So, and I'm not really into politics. It kind of does my head in. So in that sense, So I just vote, I just won't talk about who I vote for, but it was racing towards this political election coming up, and it's like we don't fit into your time frames. We work to our time frames.
Who's your you've got some influential, pivotal people that have you talk about ancestors, and we use that ancestor language quite often. Who are your people in your lineage? How far back can you go that you are really well aware of? Any particular people that you might want to highlight?
Yeah, so we go back. So obviously, I can go step by step. So there's my mum. My mum was a big, mentor for me, but also, tough love. I grew up in a bit of the tough love generation. I didn't get things sugar-coated.
Yeah.
So I've come through some extreme adversity. And I always say, thank you, Mum, now. But whereas a while ago, I was a little bit not so thankful. I was a bit rebellious through my 20s and had these, just why? But then my grandmother. So my grandmother, Martha, my mum was Winifred Nicholson, but she was named after Auntie Winnie Quagliotti. So she's sort of a political figure. My nan's sister back in the day, she was friends with Bob Hawke. Her funeral was a police procession.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty major, and my mum was named after her. So both names, Winifred Evelyn, hence me passing my mum's name on to Fenner. That was my mum's name. And then my grandmother, Martha, she was Martha Terrick. So you're connected, obviously, to me through the Terrick family up in Djadjawurrung country. And then my grandmother, who was a Terrick, married Patrick Nicholson, the Irishman. And that's, that's how Nicholson came about. So we're Irish and Wurundjeri Djadjawurrung. And then before that, there's Nan Jessie, Granny Jemima, then Robert Wandoon, and then that's Annie Barrate, the next generation, and William Barrack. So I kind of go back to those two, William Barrack and Annie Barrate, because they saw the pre and post invasion. So they saw it all come through. But we can go back. We're lucky. We can go back further.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you got some cool comments.
They're my inspiration. They're the people that I, look to for my guidance.
You got some lovely comments coming on. Kia is tuned in from Germany.
I'll try and look at my phone.
Remember Rani Formas?
Yes,
from our Zoom.
I do.
Kia is on. Stacey's a dynamo, most impressive. My lovely wife's in the other, probably lying in bed right now, listening as well. She says hello.
Aww.
Simon says big love.
Kia.
Big love from
Simon.
Simon and Lily. And Nay's there. You do an amazing job. Sue-Ann, you are a lovely Rello's there too. Hey, tell us about your exhibition. It's amazing that you've had to get some help with the Vic NAIODC stuff, which is so good that that's the committee, so you can lean on that. That's great. But you've had to step away and concentrate on something coming up. Tell us a bit about your newish role. How long have you been involved as a senior curator?
Oh, so I'm not a senior curator. I'm yet to earn that title. I'm a curator, but not junior. But it's funny because I never saw myself as a curator. And I remember having a conversation with Robbie Thorpe 2 years ago when I started. I mean, I worked at the Melbourne Museum as a project officer or project managing exhibitions in the Birrarung Gallery.
Yes.
And then essentially that's your curating, right? And then essentially I ended up becoming a curator through that role. So it wasn't something that I meant to do. It just kind of became what I did. And then I suppose because I'd done a couple of exhibitions that, were quite educational, maybe. And there was a 67 referendum because of Her We Can, where we honoured 9 women across Victoria who were pivotal in the sort of 60s and 70s for setting up the health services that we all rely on today, most of our mob. And then I did the Ngurai comics, which was Ngurai, and then Keenan Muir and his partner who do cosplay, and Jade Kennedy put his work in, so that was really cool. And then Uncle Jim Berg's Scar Trees exhibition. So then I moved on to, I just applied. I was pushed, I suppose, by a few mentors in the arts sector to apply for this 2-year contract for Yalingwa. So Yalingwa is a Creative Victoria initiative where it's a 6-year program. So every 2 years they have a major exhibition. There's a huge budget to create a major exhibition and story around Southeast Australia.
Right.
So the first one was at Akka, and the second one's Tarrawarra, and so I'm the curator who's been appointed for the 2-year program. So yeah, anyway, it's a major exhibition. It's been 2 years. COVID stepped in and, kind of changed a lot for everybody, but I wasn't sure if it was even going to go ahead. But my mission was to essentially put artists from Southeast Australia, so from Victoria, on the map.
Right.
Yeah, on a larger platform.
What's your art creative connection yourself? Or was that role at the museum your apprenticeship, if you call it? Like, so it was like, we don't have anyone, Stace. Have you ever done an exhibition before?
No.
What do you?
I had to apply for that too. But yeah, I think it's because it's when we talk about curating, it's actually storytelling. So it's a way to bring the voices of our community together. So I suppose that's something that curators do, but for me, I facilitate the stories of artists, locally. And so that's bringing them through into a bigger context. So, like bringing the Koori comics together into a bigger story and bringing the referendum together. But this one I took it very literally about it being a Southeast Australian story. So I started with artists that are all connected through songlines around the river system and the forest or the bush country.
Keep talking. I'm just trying to find the actual exhibition.
That's fine.
So I can put it up.
So yeah, I've selected 9 artists, and we're all connected through the Southeast Australian songlines. We're connected through the Yarra River, the Birrung, which goes up to the Murray River and then up to the Darling Barker. And I included the Barker, which is a Barkindji artist, Kent Morris, because of the river that, it was drying up. Well, it's dried up there, up near Wilcannia. And you had the major fish kill in the Murray-Darling. Uncle Brennan Kennedy, one of your fans, was filming about that. And then we go down to Tasmania. So I always like to include Tasmania in the Southeast stories because they're part of our family down this part of the world. And there's a kelp forest underneath the ocean, which, a lot of the artists in Tasmania do kelp basket making. So we've got a kelp basket artist in there, and that's all dying. The kelp forest is dying. So, it's a story of country and these water lines, but it's also a story of country that's, endangered.
Yeah, right. And is that where your heart lies?
Yeah. We all have different, and that's, I suppose, why Hill Country, it was interesting.
Yeah.
With me, up on Wurundjeri country, there's logging happening of old growth forest, and obviously I'm pretty noisy about that. We're not happy about that. And then you have Tanarong country and Gunai. They're all suffering through the logging and loss of totems or native animals, and those parts of country are suffering worse bushfires now and wildfires, and it's all linked. I had someone say to me one day, wouldn't logging stop bushfires? It's like, no, that's we need more education around that, because it actually creates more wildfires.
I'm going to ask a pretty. I'm going to kind of go come out a bit more. What's the health state of this country? Is it unhealthy? Has the last 12 months been a healthy rest, considering that our footprints, we're not moving around as much? We hear about stories about dolphins floating down the rivers of Florence or Venice. I don't know if it's all true or not, but it looks like.
I don't know if that's true. Yeah.
Let's come back to home though. What things are happening that we should be way more concerned about than what we are concerned about? Where can we divert our attention to actually start educating ourselves. I'm one of those people too, because I know nothing and I feel like it's hippie talk. You know, as soon as I hear someone talking about trees and stuff, I'm like, whatever. You're not loony or anything. I just don't know how to. I don't know if it's, you know, what's going on and what can we do about it.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, because there are some, you know, I have been called a tree hugger once before. It's like, really? Oh God, like you're way off. And because I'm not even going to chain myself to trees. That's what people feel they need to do. That, you know, they're on the front line, but I'm trying to talk about it through different ways, and, you know, get into the departments that are allowing this to happen. But really, I don't know all the answers just yet, but the more I learn, the more alarmed I am around how country is being abused. So up in the Central Highlands, even though we had a pandemic and we were all in lockdown, and it, you know, there was less of a footprint, the logging trucks were still coming out every day. That didn't stop. You know, they were still logging, and, you know, these sorts of old growth forest is the sort of thing that you need for the biodiversity and the health of the soil on the planet. And, you know, I don't know if people have watched much, you know, many documentaries around that, but if you destroy the soil, you know, it can become like desert country. Right. It loses all of that healthy, you know, sort of all the nutrients. So the animals, there's just this ripple effect. Animals can't survive, everything dries out. Half of our forest up there is like a big kindling, you know, mound now, because it's all new growth that's shooting through, and that's why the fires are getting worse, bushfires. And yeah, if you think about, people say to me, oh, but you live in a house, and it's like, okay, but aren't houses sort of structures built with pine or plantation wood? But the old growth forest, I think a lot of it out there is going towards copy paper and pulp. So when you really look at it, it's like, well, I've stopped printing things. I'm trying to go as paperless as possible now. It's my little actions every day that I'm doing so that I don't contribute. I'm not perfect, you know, and we can't all be perfect, but each day I, you know, try and lessen my own footprint. And that's by not buying reflex paper for starters, and just being conscious of where I'm buying my products and what I'm supporting.
You're making me feel guilty now that I'm throwing away a Post-it note.
Yeah.
Like, whoops, I might reuse that Post-it note actually.
This is where it starts.
That's not done. I should write more on there and use it more. I feel like I'm not using the Post-it note properly now.
Exactly. That's exactly it. You're a tech guy.
I know. I should get a tablet or a little. Yeah, exactly. No, this is great. I don't know where to start, and I think to like when you don't know where to start. And it's helpful. Like, think about the paper you go through and throwing out paper and what paper to use. I mean, that's a classic old one, you know, using recycled something. Is everything recycled actually recycled?
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah. You know, and that's the thing too. Even Reflex went on this whole campaign about it being recycled paper after all the reports came out about it coming from the forest up here. So I'm still learning myself about all that, and sometimes I can veer off, but we've got to stay on point, and that's about culture and country and how, you know, a healthy country is healthy community for us. And if you destroy it, you know, there's a great fella named Michael Sean Fletcher out at Melbourne Uni, and he's a geologist, and he studied country through deep time. You know, he's a geologist. He goes back through the ages, and the actual benefit of country is having people on it, caring for country and looking after it. So that's, you know, we need people on country, caring for it, but not these machines that are just flattening it.
I don't expect you to be the final answer or anything and persuade anyone's thoughts on this topic, but I am interested to know your thoughts on Bruce Pascoe.
Yeah.
And maybe, what do you know? Well, I only bring it up because it's kind of a topic, and it's starting to get general recognition, and just people are commenting on it, and not just in First Nations circles, but just everyone's. And then people have got the book, and I've got people in my community going, "Oh, my kid's got the Dark Emu Kids version." I'm like, far out! Good on you. Keep going with the liar. Or I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of. I haven't spent enough time on it, And I think for me, with anything, I don't feel like it's my place to say who is or isn't,
Sure.
Who they say they are. I do know that Bruce Pascoe is an incredible writer, and the way he's interpreted a lot of stories. I don't know if you've seen First Australians. He was talking about First Australians years and years and years ago, and that's something that they teach in schools. And it's just, he really takes you there with how Barack must have felt when he went through his journey of, loss and seeing the change of his community. And so I learnt, not just from Bruce, there was Auntie Joy, there was Auntie Murphy, there was Auntie Mark Gardner. Lots of aunties were in there talking about it. And Bruce, he was in there helping us see it through his eyes. That's really important, I find. And whether people are who they say they are or not, I mean, look, for the moment, if it turns out one day that it's not the case and he's not who he says he is, then yeah, we'd be really upset, obviously, because you feel deceived. You feel like, we've been through the struggle, a lot of us. We've grown up in a really hard environment, coming through, my mum's generation. Well, obviously my nan was born on a mission, so she was born into slavery. She was on the mission in Corranderk. My mum was the first generation who, was out fending for herself and trying to survive, and single mother, angry black woman, so she was always having rows with my principal at primary school, and I was always being discriminated. We were being discriminated against constantly.
Right.
So it was hard for me to even have a lot of friends because they looked down on me. I didn't come from the, privileged family, but, we're in Dandenong. So it was growing up in Aboriginal housing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think then for me, I'm sort of at this stage where I've just got to keep on my journey. I've got to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And keep telling our stories and keep focusing on that, even with stuff that goes on around the country. I went up to Uluru in December and I asked one of the fellas up there, do you mind if women or non-Aboriginal people play Djadjawurrung? And he said to me that some women in some tribes up there play it and that they don't mind. Some people have permission. So I just decided I'm not even getting involved in that anymore. It's not my business.
I'm with you on this stuff. And being with a First Nations wife who comes from those up more north, the conversations that we're having down here are almost kind of exclusive to the wars that were like the way we hit war zone really quickly down here. And it's just, it's almost like white fella ways. But up there, it's like where, you could say the Yidaki from. Well, shouldn't we be following their conversations? If you want to follow all protocols, then that's happening. But then all of a sudden we think, you know what I mean? Down here, it's like we kind of make up new rules, and I don't know. It's just I find it interesting as well. And you're right. Like you can get distracted, and I find that about Bruce. Why is it important? Or no, it is important, but it'll probably work itself out eventually. Without you going, I want an answer now. You get on record and tell me who your mob is and who's calling you out. Like, I reckon it'll flush out. But you're right. His content is as solid as anyone's. Call him an ally researcher if you need to feel better about yourself. But the content's brilliant,
there's a lot of
beautiful.
people that have a lot of respect for him, and it's hard to all of a sudden, flip from that. And it's Carissa. It's so good because I remember having a yarn with Carissa, your beautiful wife. I love that woman, and it's so good and refreshing to actually be able to talk to mob from different. It's not my business, and she wouldn't talk about my business down here. So we have to respect that. So I didn't catch Will's conversation
on Sunday. I just only put it up last night, so you can catch up on it.
I'll have a look.
Let's your exhibition. It starts when?
It starts on the 1st of August.
Woo! It's coming up.
I'm getting nervous. I'm really nervous.
Tickets go on sale on the 26th of July, so we've still got some time to save some pennies.
Yes. But no mob pay, I've told them. It's like, no mob pay to see these stories.
Okay, that's good.
Yep.
That's good. And it's called WILAM BIIK.
Yep.
Which means home country. It involves, give us some artists that you've so far locked in.
Yeah, no, so we've got Paola Bala, Stephen Ryle, Auntie Glenda Nichols,
Yep.
Nanette Shaw, Arika Walu, Kent Morris, Deanne Gilson. You might know Deanne from down the Wurrung country way.
Yeah.
Rhiannon Williams and Auntie Kim Wandon. And then there's kind of a welcome to country section. So you come into the start of the gallery and there's ancestral tools in there that I've loaned from Museums Victoria.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll have, we're honouring the old people first. You know, you need to do it in everything that you do. So as soon as you walk in, you'll see paintings by WILAM BIIK. You'll see his boomerang, his shield, and his woomera, which is a spear thrower. So these are all his personal tools. And we've pulled them out of the drawers, you know, we're getting them out into the space. Then in the same section, we'll have some other items from Corranderk or tools from Corranderk. Then there's the Djadjawurrung section with, because Barrack's paintings are a lot about ceremony. So we have the ceremony of the Djadjawurrung as well, and our tools that we use. So it's showing a past and present. Yeah, so we're still here. We're still practicing our culture. Auntie Kim Wandon's woven a beautiful big eel trap, which will be in the space, and Granny Jemima's basket will be in there. So it's just showing
Wow.
It's the first time we've brought all of these tools home, really.
Wow.
So yeah, they're coming home and we're in one space together, and that's sort of a way for people to feel welcome before they enter the main gallery with the 9 Southeast Australian artists.
Incredible. I don't go to galleries because I just don't know what to do or what to think or what to say, or if I like them. But I would love to go to this 31st of July. It runs all the way through to the 7th of November.
Yep, 3 months.
That's epic. Oh, so 1st of August.
Yep.
That's unreal.
So I will flag now if you can. So if anyone wants to come and have a tour, please call and ask, because obviously Mob, I'll take you on a personal tour. And RGR listeners, you guys are special too.
Oh, cool.
But 12th of September, there's going to be a big activation. Obviously, it's in the nicer weather. So I'm going to, activate the whole space. It's up on this beautiful mountain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we'll have, it's called the Pawnee Festival, which is the tadpole season. So it's, spring's come through. It's about, rebirth and new life, and it's going to be nicer weather. So we'll have artist talks, the juries will be dancing.
When's that? 12th of September?
12th of September. And I'll have something for you to share online.
Okay.
Down the track, yeah. That's
awesome. Stace, I can hear little Fenner's now razzing right up. Probably needs a headlock from you. Where is she? Get her on.
Yeah, Fenner.
Is she nearby? Fenner!
Oh my gosh, you don't even have your uniform on. Come here.
Fenner is part of the...
Who wants to say hi?
Fenner is part of the package. Hopefully we can get her on air here. And hey, peeps, I've put up the link to... it's twma.com.au. And if you look up WILAM, WILAM BIIK, you'll go straight to... Stacie Piper's exhibition that's coming up on the 1st of August. Runs for 3 months. Plenty of time to see it, but 12th of September, book it in, peeps. And we might be able to organise something all together, but if not, plenty of time to go see Stace. Fenner's not coming here.
Maybe you could broadcast from there, do interviews and stuff. That'd be fun.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
You got a reception up there?
Yeah. Yeah, router. We've got a router.
Piper, thank you so much for being our guest today and kicking off the week. Very exciting moment to share some moments with you before you head off to the week. But
yeah,
it's awesome.
No, thanks for having me, and hi to everyone. I know Sue Ann's listening.
Yeah, you got a few.
One, staunch Truth and Justice Commissioner out there. That is your job, to tell the truth, and I admire you for that, because you're just so brave. And we're always behind you. And Lynette, thanks. But everyone else, Simon, everyone, thanks for tuning in and listening to me ramble.
No. We could keep listening to it. Simon said far out. I could listen to this all day. I got to run to a school run, so I had to go. Shelley's off now. Everyone's hanging on there to.
Hey guys, and Kia in Germany. I hope you guys are all safe.
Yeah, far out. You got a song request?
Oh, okay. Let's think. What have I been listening to recently? Oh gosh. I don't know. I've got so many in my head.
That's all right.
Yeah. I trust your judgment.
all right.
Put on something that or something from your wedding. Hey, that was a fun night.
Okay. Okay. This isn't really fun. Oh, it was. It was when we signed the rings.
Oh.
I know.
Yes.
I bore my head off when I played this song. I'll speak to you soon, Stace.
Okay, love you
Have a good
guys.
one. See you soon.
Bye.